Key Digital, the experts in digital audio-visual and control systems.
Hey, welcome. I hope you're ready to learn about our multi-view video processors. We're going to keep it short and sweet, show you what's so cool about this product. It really is one of those products that delivers wow factor into your installations. And it is something that is very dynamic. It goes into corporate, it goes into many commercial installations, educational, and house of worship as well, and residential also. So we're going to go into some system designs as well, so you can see exactly how this product can work for you. It really is one of the coolest products we've done at Key Digital. It's got a long history with us here now. And talking about model KD MLV 4x2 Pro. MLV for multi-viewer, 4x2, 4 in, 2 out. And the professional model, this is second generation of the product now, and we're planning to keep on releasing products with this capability. Here we have, we see some of the connectivity, some of the features, and the different modes that this does. What is a multi-viewer? Basically, it's like a picture-in-picture video processor. You could do full screen, of course. You could seamlessly switch from source 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, back around to 1. It's a seamless processor, so that makes it ideal for installing it at in systems with projectors, right? How annoying is that when you do a when you're on a projector in a conference room or in your church, for example, and you switch from source 1 to source 2, and you just see that blue screen in between, and sometimes that lasts 5-10 seconds, and it seems like an eternity, doesn't it? Well, seamless switching, you don't get any of that, because what happens is the unit itself, the multi-viewer, is a processor. So even as you switch from source to source, the resolution to that projector or screen is constant. And that projector screen sees no interruption as you do those transitions from source 1 to 2. That's what a seamless switcher is, which is a fantastic professional feature there that is not in all switches. So you need to make sure you're seeking a seamless switcher if that's what you're looking for. And with the picture-in-picture processing, you could watch multiple sources on the screen at the same time in these varying layouts here that we show you. So the 4 in, 2 out, as we showed, the 2 outs, one of them is an HDMI output, and one of them is an HD-Base-T output. And we have a built-in HD-Base-T transmitter, and we include the receiver in the box with the MLV 4x2 Pro. Okay, so you have your HDMI output, plus you have your output on Cat5e, Cat6. Now we're looking here at 2 different screen layouts, right? Display 1 is in full screen mode, and then we see display 2 in that quadrant mode. And on the MLV 4x2 Pro, full screen and quadrant mode are independent. But then the third mode of usage is this multi-view or custom. So we give you presets that are already programmed in the unit that gives you this primary image, if you will, at the top, bottom, left, or right. And the other 3 windows, the non-primaries, can be at the opposite end. And when you do those, when you call those presets that are either the ones that are pre-programmed in the unit and we have it reflected on the silk screen of the unit, or if you build your own custom layouts, as we'll show you here some resources for that and how it's done. If you call those multi-view or custom layouts, then on the MLV 4x2 Pro, the outputs are mirrored. They will both show the same thing at the same time because we're utilizing that video processing resource. Now, as mentioned, this product's been out for a while, and as happens, there's new technologies out there. We're currently developing other products, so hopefully in the future, when you do a multi-view or a custom layout, that'll only affect one of those outputs. So stay tuned for future videos, and of course, read your product documentation as we release future products with this capability to see if that will also be mirrored or independent. Now, on the MLV 4x2 Pro, one of the things we've added on the Pro version is a balanced, unbalanced Phoenix connector for the analog audio connectivity, the audio de-embedding. And we also added PCM digital audio. So this was a really popular request, the digital audio output, as we released this product initially thinking of some typical commercial applications, conference rooms, and churches, as mentioned. But as you can see in the application examples, it really took off on the residential side as well for sports and gaming cave. But when you do use the audio de-embedding, there is no up convert or down convert. So for example, if your source is coming into the multi-viewer in surround format, well, then you can't pull that out on analog, of course. And that's what this table here is showing us. Keep in mind as well that there's no volume control or EQ. So this is really something that should feed a amplifier or a DSP or a product that, you know, has the volume control. On the input side, you may have noticed 2 of the 4 inputs have analog VGA or VGA, and for, you know, computers and whatnot, and an analog audio input as well. And even if you're not using the VGA from your computer or maybe NVR, you could still associate the HDMI input with that respective analog input. So perhaps you have a PC source that's just digital signage, for example, and you have a music streamer that's going to be feeding in for your background music. You can plug that in on the analog left right 3.5 millimeter stereo and associate it with that video source. Now, our multi-viewer is one of the first products that we considered for our Key Digital app many years ago. And as we've discussed, Key Digital app is just about in supporting control of all of our IP control products now. Here is that GUI. There's no customizations to this GUI, remember. So what we give you here is just what the end user needs, not too much, hopefully, and nothing more, nothing less, right? As they say. So you could choose display 1, you want to do a 4K quad mode, right? You could do that. On display 2, you have a full screen mode, for example, that independent selection. So you have that. You could also choose what source are you listening to. When you're in a quad mode, sometimes you want to change the audio from source 1, 2, 3, or 4, selecting that. And this input swap button down in the bottom right is basically does like a clockwise or perhaps counterclockwise rotation. And that's how you move the windows with our multi-viewer. It's not as complicated as saying, okay, input 4 goes to the top left, input 3 goes to the bottom right. You know, it becomes too complicated that way. So in the development stages, we were considering some things, and we figured, you know, just having an input swap is really the most direct way and straightforward way for the user to understand when trying to move the sources, the windows around. Now, there's a web control interface for the multi-viewer as well. So if you don't have an iPad, you can actually control it from any PC or just browser on your phone or tablet, right? And it is password protected. And in here, you have the same layout for the for switching and for the mode control for selecting your audio source. You can also do your network setup, so you can change the IP address in here if you need, and set up your admin passwords. You have your audio selection once again on the input side. Is it a HDMI only, or is it the external audio input, and what audio source is selected for each output if they're in the quad modes, for example. And the advanced video. Now, this might look like a lot here. What is the advanced video? This is where you build those custom layouts. So essentially, it's a 1920 by 1080 grid when you're building the custom layouts. And you have your X0, Y0 is your top left handle of that image, and X1, Y1 is the bottom right handle of the image across that 1920 by 1080 grid. Layering allows you to put images on top of each other. This could be used various ways. For example, if, well, let's just show you some of the layouts here, and then that'll probably make more sense. We have resources for that. So there's two resources if you're interested in making custom presets, because you need to use the multi-viewer beyond these built-in multi-view layouts. We have a custom presets quick guide that teaches you, because you might think, how do I figure out these 1920 by 1080 grid? What is the exact location for each? My X0, Y0 coordinates, my X1, Y1 coordinates. That's where we teach you about the custom presets quick guide, kind of develop the method for making that understandable, and then common custom presets. So if you say, hey, I just need to do 2 images side by side, maintaining 16:9 aspect ratio, we could show you how that's done as well on those common custom presets, just giving you those coordinates to enter in that advanced video layout, right? So again, here's a look at the custom presets quick guide, one of those 2 resources. And it actually, when you download it, it's a PowerPoint, and we want you to view it with the grid lines on, so that you'll notice in PowerPoint, each grid has, so you see these like a number of squares here, right? They're 12 by 12 squares. And there's 96 dots horizontally, 12 by 12 dots, I should say, 96 dots horizontally. So each dot equals 20 pixels. 96 times 20 equals 1920, 55 dots vertically. Again, each dot 20 pixels, 55 by 20, 1080, right? So you kind of establish your proportions here. And then, for example, here's a gaming layout. We'll show you an application example here for a gaming studio for broadcasting to Twitch or YouTube gaming. And in this, the background image is actually imposed by the PC, but we have the 4 windows where, if we just look at the yellow one, top input 1, the top left is just 3 dots over, the bottom 3 dots over and 2 dots down. The bottom right is 46 dots over from starting at 0, 0, 46 dots over, 27 dots down. So that makes our X0 60, our Y0 40, our X1 920, and our Y1 540. So anyways, check out that resource if this isn't quite making sense, but you need to use it. Or for example, if you look at our common custom presets document, we have a lot of even gaming and other common custom presets. For example, here, they wanted the image at the top. They only had 3 windows, right? They wanted the primary image at top. So instead of having 3 across the bottom, just 2. How do you do that? So we just give you the exact values here and set the layering so that, that 4th window isn't visible. It's hidden behind one of those other 3 windows. So let's go ahead and jump into those system design applications. Again, we initially thought of the conference space applications, for example, where they have a presentation and they're going to have like brainstorming, collaboration. You're going to have multiple people presenting, and you might even have your video conferencing appliance as one of the 4 sources into the multi-viewer. So here we see the in-room laptop plugged in through one of our wall plate transmitter extenders into the multi-viewer, rack PC or dedicated PC, our wireless presentation system, video conferencing unit, and our Class D amplifier, amp 220 for the room as well, where that audio de-embed feeds into that, right? So initially we were thinking a lot of things like this with the unit and these kind of collaborative spaces, for example. And then, as I mentioned before, your sports cave and gaming cave became very common, we found. And so here, for example, if you want to build the ultimate sports viewing cave, throw your 4 satellite or cable boxes into the multi-view. You could watch 4 football, hockey games at a time this way, quad mode, or even creating your own kind of like red zone system where you could have your favorite team as the primary window and watch the division rivals on the secondary windows, right? Use the audio de-embed to feed your surround system or sound bar, and now you've really just got an ultimate experience, and you have your free control app from your iOS device, your iPhone, or even any web browser. So just bookmark that on your phone, and now you could change those layouts, no problem whatsoever. Or the ultimate gaming cave. We get a lot of people talking about this, where they have their teenage kids, they have their friends come over, they've all brought their consoles, and they're really going head to head in your games there. What do you call those? First player shooters or something along those lines. So for those, this is a game specifically. I'm not going to use the game name, but that this one didn't have the ability to. It's not a multiplayer game, right? So that's why they've all brought their consoles, and it really just makes for a good time, right? Or how about the gamer studio? Well, here it's not quite as simple as just bringing 4 gaming consoles in and sending it to a monitor. You need to go through an HDMI to USB converter device, which then outputs the HDMI, that quad or that custom layout, right? It outputs it as USB, so you can feed it into your gaming PC as a USB camera. And that gaming PC uses your Twitch, YouTube gaming, etc., to stream what's happening to the internet. So then you can go ahead and you could broadcast this for anyone to view over the world. And speaking of which, Key Digital is a proud sponsor of HHQC Gaming, along with MSI, Red Bull, and others. This is really, they're using a full Key Digital multi-view, HDMI capture, and matrixing. They actually have 8 consoles in their gaming studio, and they use a 8-way matrix, an 8x8 matrix, to select 4 out of 8 gaming consoles to feed the multi-viewer. And meanwhile, the other 4 outputs go to their own dedicated monitors for each gamer. So a little more detail here, lots of options, of course. Church sanctuary, this is doesn't have to be a mega church to have some really great technology here, where you can feed 2 projectors. Again, they could be full screen, side by side, and fully independent. So one could be going wireless, the other could be going from the podium plug-in, or one could be the operator booth PC or laptop and the podium plug-in side by side for a graphic and the message of the day. Use the audio D embed ports to feed an audio DSP amplifier. It doesn't have to cost a fortune to deliver this really fantastic technology. And we already talked about the benefit of the seamless switching as well. Or here's a gymnasium, auditorium, and an educational facility. Here you do see this multi-viewer as part of an overall larger system, right? Where you have a number of sources, including a scoreboard PC, digital signage, and a plug-in feeding into our matrix. And you can have multi-viewers on the projector, and they had a number of additional standalone displays that aren't receiving the multi-view feed. They're going directly from the matrix. So the matrix is feeding the multi-viewer, essentially giving you access to up to 8 sources into that multi-viewer. So we even do that very commonly with our AV over IP systems as well. So any kind of matrixing system feed into or out of a multi-viewer, allowing you to deliver multi-view content all over the system. So there's really a lot of variety of ways, and a variety of ways to use this device, and a variety of reasons why these devices, multi-view processors, are so popular for Key Digital. So for more information of how this can fit in your application, please reach out to our sales team, sales@keydigital.com, or visit www.keydigital.com and